6 most disturbing forest findings caught on camera by Chilling Scares. Forests are wild, dude. They're spooky. I avoid the deep woods like the plague.
This first finding was made by hiker James Rankin in early October of 2016. James had been hiking in Berkeley-Jackson County Park when he came across an old campsite. But disturbingly, all around the campsite were multiple different missing person posters taped onto trees.
What?
The posters themselves were completely real, featuring real missing people across different US states. Upon his discovery, James would quickly start recording.
Okay, we're deep in the woods. Sort of, we're like on the border, because like there's a side of the woods.
So I have no basis for what this could be, other than this is a passion project for somebody. Take that as you will. This comes across as a passion project, whether this person had a hand in their disappearances, whether these specific individuals disappeared for a specific reason, and this is some person who's very interested in them. This is not normal, quote-unquote, behavior. I don't even think that now. We want to call forest folk Fae memes. No, this is somebody. This is some individual somewhere with some sort of obsession or some sort of passion. That's interesting.
There's people's houses, but I came to a trail that led to a trail that led to a trail.
Look at that knife.
Up the hill, but I saw what looked like a fire pit. Now remember, we're still in the woods. We're still in the woods, right? I don't know what this is. Do you see the trees? Look at the white. Okay. I was like, okay, these are probably no trespassing signs, or maybe it's something for the wildlife or something.
Especially that close to a camp, you can assume reasonably that this is actual, like, physical person.
Look what these are.
It's laminated too, which means that this isn't a throwaway. So obviously something like this could be staged, right? You always have to come at this with the semblance of, okay, but this could also just be staged. So it could be his camp. He could be putting this up, right? I mean, you can never really dismiss reasonable doubt, right? However, these are laminated. They also face the camp as well, right? This is not a throwaway. This is an action that was designed to have some sort of permanence, however long that is, because they're laminated to protect from the elements, to protect from rain, to protect from wind. Huh. Can we make out the locations on the poster? That's Orlando, Florida. 2006. Pennsylvania.
What?
Lititz? I've never heard of that. I apologize.
What the f is going on in here? This is Utah, Florida.
Utah.
They're all different. They're all different. Every single one.
So at that point, if we can rule out it being a location-specific thing, we have to start looking at the through line, right? The through line being that they're missing. Is there a profile? Some of these actually seems like it's all women.
Going on in here.
Yeah, because we have this Brenda Heist individual. Missing from Susan. This actually reeks like serial unaliver status. There's a profile.
It's Utah, Florida. They're all different. They're all different. Every single one.
Once again, a woman, teacher from Osceola. I can't tell what that is. Georgia?
This one's from Georgia. And look at it. Like, look where the we are. Who the does something like this? And we got this one. And it's obviously these, you can tell. These aren't.
That's a man.
No. Like, not just that this is 2012, Noblesville, Indiana, right?
Indiana.
Look at the tape. Look at the water damage. These have been hanging up for a while. Let me just,
That's wild. This is one of those, you as reasonably as your average person, you just leave. you maybe report this to, it was a national park, so you report this to the park rangers, right? You leave and you report this. You don't know if someone's watching. You don't know if someone's around. Especially, look how dense the foliage is, right? Actually kind of reminds me of the ending of Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring, that little forest, right? A little bit. Someone could sneak up on you really easily. This is not normal. This is obsessive. This is obsessive.
Look at that. And over here in the middle of the fire pit.
So I went down to Boise, Idaho once, actually. I went down behind, I think it was Camel's Back Park. Those of you that have been to Idaho, live in Idaho, know what I'm talking about. But there's a little hiking thing that goes up towards the hills. We made some fun about like some Cold War bunkers up in the hills, right? Just because some of them look like FBI installments up there. Like FBI, CIA buildings, a little blocky. But there was a concrete slab. Like the concrete slab was from something. I don't know if it was like a sidewalk or whatever. And there were a bunch of little like logs, just sitting logs around arranged around it. And it's probably just, some teenagers or some adults getting up to some fun after dark, right? But it was one of those that just, even in Boise, Idaho, going behind Camel's Back Park on a short little hike and just seeing like worn concrete slab with a bunch of little log chair implements around it for sitting around it. And yeah, it's interesting. That is a shovel, yeah.
That's a shovel.
James would ultimately report the finding to the police.
Right.
Though, upon further investigation, police would write it off as someone's Halloween decorations. James, however, was not satisfied with this investigation. His discovery took place on October 3rd, and according to James, the posters themselves did not look like they were set up recently.
So that actually breaks the trend, though, right? Because that's a short-haired male. You'd have to look at every single individual here, and you'd have to profile them out. Like, we've seen a kind of even split. I'd argue these are younger individuals.
James would return to the campsite, but this time be stopped by multiple no trespassing signs.
Interesting.
Okay, first of all, I am not violating any of these no trespassing signs. I'm simply not.
Right.
I came here only to show you and get it on tape and leave. From here, we can see down there, that's the clearing. So
they're still up.
Anyway, what they've done, they printed out their own no trespassing signs.
Oh, no, okay, these are, okay.
Homemade. I'm assuming these are all legally binding. I have no way of knowing, so I'm not taking any chances.
Right.
You can see, they attached them to the trees with ordinary masking tape. These aren't even laminated. This is posted, private property, no trespassing. Violators will be prosecuted. And we've got one there, one there, one there.
Because the police had already closed their investigation, this would pretty much mark the end of the whole situation.
Other tombstones, it's hard to know, especially if it's private property. Like, you outside of law enforcement disclosing what happened, I don't think we'll ever know. It could be just a twisted art project, right? It could be an art project about a commentary on missing people and not being found, right? Being lost in the forest, so to speak. It could entirely be that. We just don't know. But that's definitely not normal behavior. That is if you walk into a situation, your first instinct is to think that this is not normal. This is concerning. The cave before
Back in 2013, a man named Phil Poling would upload this video to his YouTube channel. The video features Phil out late at night in his neighborhood, located in Mission, Oregon.
Okay.
Phil claimed to have heard strange noises echoing around outside his neighborhood only a few minutes prior, which is why he was outside in the first place. Once he reached a nearby forest that was only around 200 feet from his house, he would again hear the noises. And this is where he started recording.
January 21st, about 11 p.m. I'm a couple hundred feet from my house, and you hear it going off in the background right now. Kind of sounds weird.
I would write that off as an animal, dude. What is it? Is it cougars? Is it cougars in heat? Sounds like humans screaming or something like that. This is one of those I more easily write off.
Kind of sounds doggish, hyena-ish.
man,
It
buddies.
almost sounds like laughter.
This feels very animalistic to me. I don't see this being some like crazy wood cult, right? I see this more along the lines of being like, just this is animals.
It's actually gotten closer since it started. It's probably only 200 feet, 300 feet from me right now.
Just don't interrupt them. Just leave them alone.
The recording of noises continued for a while longer, until the sounds of gunshots can be heard echoing from the forest.
Probably Hunter then, right?
I think that was a gunshot.
I mean, but doesn't that back it up as well? If it's a hunter or a poacher, right? Right, to hear some animalistic noises like that. I mean, obviously, it's also at what 1 a.m. or something like that. It's hard to know, right? And even then, if there's a gunshot, you don't know what it is. Your best policy is just to leave. Report the situation if you see fit. Generally, probably report the situation, the location, what was going on. Let the police do their work at that point. But I don't know. Like, I think this comes down to a hunter situation. I don't think there's necessarily anything very like criminal going on here potentially. I don't know. It's wild. Cody caught in a trap, poacher ending, a possibility. It sounds like a poacher spooked them, and probably. I think the poaching hunting thing seems to track for me. And it was a hunter, someone shooting at the group. Multiple shots though. That's a little odd.
Multiple people in the community itself had claimed to have been hearing similar noises for the last 2 months or so leading up to the recording.
So 2 months or so. I mean, it could be endangered farm animals. It could be.
But just what exactly was making the noises is still unclear.
Are they that hard to go? I don't know. I don't go hunting. My interest in firearms has become strictly militaristic, right? In terms of, target shooting, familiarizing myself with platforms such as the AR platforms, Beretta 92, stuff like that. That's where my interest solely lies. So I actually haven't been hunting. I don't even really have interest in hunting, actually. I don't know, just not my thing.
This video features the GoPro footage of two dirt bikers riding on a remote path in the forest. Throughout the video, the bikers can be seen going at extreme speeds. But doing this would quickly prove to become almost deadly.
Really?
As the bikers continued on the path, they were unexpectedly met with a steel cable strung across two trees at perfect neck level for oncoming bikers. At a fast enough speed, this trap could no doubt take the lives of anyone riding through that didn't see it.
That's bad. He is so lucky that he peeled off that. That's wild.
Fortunately, however, the biker in the front did see it and was able to react quick enough to avoid it.
I would argue that's malicious. Right? Like, that has to be malicious because there's a clearly marked trail there, right? Yeah, that's wild. Yeah. Good job on tying it. Yeah. That's malicious. And that's the thing, it can happen anywhere. Someone random could just put this up on a trail, or if they deem it their property or private property, right? Well, especially if it's private property, right? But even then, there's ways like no trespassing, you're now on private property. This is scary common. I believe it. It would not surprise me if this was more common. This is a very malicious practice. Like, that is a trap, through and through.
The bikers would actually debate whether or not to stay and wait for the person who set up the trap to come back.
No.
But they would end up deciding against this.
Like,
it's
they
still
just take
unknown
it.
who's responsible.
That's wild. Like, and that's the thing, you have to understand, like, there'd be no different if there was a pitfall trap there. This is just easier, and you can go, oh, well, I don't know, that. Oh, there was a thing I was working on, and I totally forgot about it, right? Like, pit traps. Even if they're trespassing, illegal to use an injuring trap. Yeah, even then, right? Like, that is malicious and outright evil.
Mark Andre was a man who devoted his career to exploring the vast woods of Northern California. He worked as his town's environmental service director, so it was quite literally his job to spend time in the woods. In February of 2018, he had been tasked with marking trees, and while he was doing so deep in the woods, he would come across some makeshift cabin, which, considering the extreme remoteness of the area he was in, made the discovery highly abnormal. Mark would of course get a closer look at the structure. The thing was only around 8 by 12 feet wide and 15 feet tall. There was a lock on the shack's only entrance, and from the outside there was no real evidence anyone was there. Still, disturbed by the finding, Mark would head back to get professional assistance. The next few days would consist of multiple attempts to contact the owner of the shack, but all of them ultimately failing. So, finally, upon revisiting the structure, the men would break open the lock to the front door. They would find a space that was clearly being lived in, or at the very least had been lived in recently. The shack had its own furniture, a pot-bellied stove, a small library, and even a typewriter. Jars and cans of food filled the shelves. However, in spite of all this, the search resulted in no further identification of the actual owner. Because the shack was illegally constructed, the men ultimately had no other choice but to leave an eviction notice on the front door before leaving. A few days later, the authorities returned to see out the contract, but there was nothing there.
Wow.
The makeshift cabin was completely gone. Whoever the owner was had deconstructed it, with literally the only thing left behind being an international squatter symbol made from charcoal. Many theorized the owner was wanted by authorities.
That's a
and
thing?
was therefore living completely alone in the forest, evading any contact with other people.
I've never heard of this. This is a thing? I mean, it doesn't actually surprise me. It's a thing now that I think about it. Interesting. Safe house? I don't know. Like, I don't think that it's a safe house. I think that it's just somebody out in the middle of nowhere that just wants to, have a place, right? Thus constructing a shelter. Almost code system. I didn't even know of this. That's actually wild to think about. Interesting.
But whether or not this is even close to true is still up for debate.
Right.
To this day, the real owner of the shack is still unidentified.
Interesting.
This video was captured on an early morning in the middle of December. It takes place in Canada and features some disturbing noise echoing throughout the forest. It's not clear what the noise is. Many frequent hunters would report to have never heard anything even remotely similar.
I know what that is. I don't know. Scary shit.
I mean, it's animalistic.
What is that?
What would cause that? Maybe an elk? Like, it's definitely animalistic. Like, the vocal pattern is not humanistic, at least, right? Right? Sounds like elk. It could be an elk entirely. Obviously, it's a Wendigo. Is that the Wendigoon out there just filming his latest bit?
What the?
One comment suggested the noise could have been a wolf that was either trapped or left behind by its pack. It's also possible it was another animal, such as an elk or possibly a bull moose.
Okay, yeah.
Although none of these theories have been confirmed. YouTube user Rainey Schuler would upload this video to YouTube in 2013. The video's footage is from multiple security cameras Rainey would set up around his house, which was in an isolated area of the Rocky Mountains.
I mean, I'm actually, being in Idaho, we're actually on the doorstep of the Rocky Mountains. Why? Like, it's not like there's haggard, ragged clothing, nothing like that. Like, I mean, this is... She looks like she's just going downtown.
The whole idea behind the cameras was to capture the footage of the different wildlife around his property to then upload to YouTube. But on September 13, the cameras around his house would catch something completely out of the ordinary. You can see as a woman walks out from the complete darkness of the woods.
But why? Why? Bent? Crack? What is drug usage? What are we looking at? I think that's a special brand of horror. Just like person just out in the middle of nowhere, just acting like nothing's wrong. Like, it is a special thing that triggers your fight or flight response. I don't think it's lost because she doesn't appear like elevated or escalated, right? I mean, probably is elevated, quote unquote, maybe hypothetically. But I mean, like, look at her movements. She doesn't seem like she's stumbling. She doesn't seem like she's panicked. She doesn't seem, she doesn't seem in any way, shape, or form like her fight or flight has been triggered, right? Like her movements are sound. Like, she's cold, probably. That's why she's crossing her arms, most likely. She's just walking around. She's going for a stroll. That's how she's actually going to take the light bulb, like straight up crackhead status. Weird. She's wearing a hat too. So I almost wonder if this is a premeditated thing.
Some believe the woman was lost, or that her car had broken down nearby. But that doesn't explain her general careless mannerism as she aimlessly walks around the property.
Yeah, she's walking.
And a while later, the woman could be seen walking right back into the forest. After that night, the house owner would never see this woman again.
That's wild. As it can happen anywhere. Something like this could happen anywhere. And that's the problem. Like, that's the thing. Just be cognizant, right? Just be cognizant, be aware. Not everything is necessarily going to be, you know, a spooky skinwalker or something like that, right? Just one of those things that just be safe out there. Make sure you're keeping yourself safe, all that fun stuff. Let me know if you have any insight into this, though, dear viewer. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know if you have some insight that you'd be willing to share. Let me know if you maybe have a rational and logical explanation that we didn't even come to. Maybe it wasn't an elk. Maybe it's exactly you said, a bull moose, and you have a specific reason for why it's a bull moose. Maybe you have maybe you're noticing something about her walking. Like at the end here, you were noticing she seems like she's kind of slouching a little bit.
After that night,
it's when she goes across the tree specifically. Trying to find it here. I'm sorry.
General careless manner.
Like, she looks like it's careless, yes, but it looks like she's kind of dragging her feet a little bit.
General careless mannerism.
So I don't know what's going on there. If maybe it's mental health, maybe it's substance related. I don't know. Very interesting. There are definitely a lot of things that run on two legs that aren't supernatural. Is a very good way to put that. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.